Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of The Lindsay Elmore Show. According to NBC News, walking is the most underrated form of exercise. It is one of the absolute best physical activities that we can do. Walking not only improves fitness and cardiac health, but it also alleviates depression and fatigue, improves mood, reduces pain, prevents weight gain, and reduces the risk for cancers and chronic diseases. On top of all of this, it improves our endurance, our circulation, our posture, and our balance, and the list goes on and on and on. Remarkably, studies have shown that a daily walk can reduce the risk of stroke in both men and women and reduce the days spent in the hospital each year. It even can lower your risk of death by up to 39%. My guest today is Joyce Schulman. She is the founder of 99 Walks, a brand that helps women experience what she discovered intuitively about the health benefits of regular walking practices. Let's get to the show. Welcome to The Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast for people who deserve to be healthy, with honest, open, and enlightening conversations with doctors, thought leaders, creatives, and spiritual gurus. You'll walk away with simple and tangible tips and tricks that allow you to live your healthiest life so you can pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Throughout her personal and professional life, Joyce's regular walking practice has been her key for managing stress, fueling creativity, and maintaining her health. After discovering that the research confirms what she learned instinctively, Joyce founded 99 Walks to help women experience what these recent studies have shown: that walking can improve decision-making and executive function, combat depression, increase creativity, and add years to your life. 99 Walks grew over 1,500% in 2020, with a community of women that walked more than 1.5 million miles. In addition to being the pack leader at 99 Walks, Joyce is an author, speaker, TEDx veteran, podcaster, and consultant for companies and women's groups, where she shares her expertise about the life-changing impact of a consistent, intentional walking practice. Joyce Schulman, welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I am such a huge fan of walking. I have been walking since we've all been walking since I was very young, but I was a very avid walker because my mom, in my adolescent years, had a treadmill in the house. And you're a kid, so you're not allowed to just go willy-nilly everywhere. And so I would walk for hours on end watching food TV, and I credit it to me really learning a lot about cooking and how to eat more healthfully and what is techniques behind cooking. So it's had major lasting repercussions on my life to have had these several formative years spent walking on a treadmill while learning new skill sets. I would study on my treadmill. When I was in pharmacy school, I tore my ACL, and so spent lots of time on the bike and just really crafted this relationship with, like, you can do a lot of things while you're walking, both indoors and outdoors. So start us out with the big picture. Talk to us about the plethora of benefits that come from walking.
Yeah, so we could be here a really long time. And I share that history and that passion. I started walking as you, right, as a baby, but as a practice, as something that I realized had impact on my life when I was a teenager. And I often share this story. My dad is a retired coach and teacher, and I came home from high school one day in a really bad mood. And he took one look at me and he said, go for a walk. And I don't know, I remember the day so vividly, and I don't remember what it was that was bugging me. It was high school. So it could have been mean girls or a bad grade or a boy, right? It could have been anything. But I took my dad's advice and I dropped my backpack on the red couch in the den and I walked out the door and I walked 3 miles. And I remember walking back in the house and noticing how my entire mood had really shifted. And it was so profound to me and it just stayed with me. And since that time, I have used walking personally as the way I manage my stress, the way I process big things, the way I keep my body going, the way I deal with a very cranky back, the way I keep my weight at a healthy level. All of those things have been part of my life for a really long time. So as we started digging into the research around the impact of walking a number of years ago, we founded 99 Walks. That's just been 2 years now. I was honestly taken with the incredible benefits. And I like to break them down into three pillars. And that's walking for your mind, walking for your mood, and walking for your body. So we can go, there's so much there, so we can go at them in any order you'd like.
Well, let's start with the mind, because you so eloquently described how going for a walk can shift the mind, which in my, okay, if I were going to blow the punchline and take my best guess, moving the body can help to change the mind, which changes the mood, or moving the body can help to change the mood, which changes the mind. So I think just start anywhere. Tell me the whole story.
I'm with you. All those three things are obviously so closely related, but it just helps me kind of wrap my arms around the impact to look at it through those three different lenses. So starting with your mind, the research shows, it's so interesting. You were talking about studying. You made like an offhand comment that you studied while you were walking or on the bike. And there's research that shows that walking can have a really significant impact on your memory. So if you want to remember better, do more walking. Walk before you study, walk after you study, walk during while you're studying, though don't carry the papers out into traffic. But walking directly implicates the strength of your memory. There's a really funny study that shows that if you are trying to remember something specific, like where did I leave the keys, try walking backwards. And they don't exactly know how that works, but there is research that shows that that can be super helpful. And among the many things, so walking can improve your executive function, your decision-making ability, and help combat decision fatigue, which is essentially we have a limited capacity to make good decisions during the course of the day. And it's the reason why they put candy bars at the checkout wrapper or candy bars at the checkout counter.
Yes.
Because by the time you get there, like you're so tired from choosing the 43 different kinds of peanut butter that you make less good decisions. So walking has been shown to reset and help repair that decision-making fatigue. And my personal favorite is that walking builds and fuels your creativity, particularly your divergent thinking, which is kind of your ability to look at things in new ways. And there's a wonderful study out of Stanford University that shows that a 20-minute walk can boost your creativity by 60%. So listen, I know I just threw like a ton of mind stuff at you, but that's kind of the overview.
The thing I love about it the most is that you have named specific relationship to both the ancestral limbic system portion of the brain as well as the executive function, the more highly evolved prefrontal cortex. So this whole remembering stuff, that's limbic system stuff, but being able to combat decision-making fatigue, that's a function of the prefrontal cortex. And we've talked a lot on this show about how meditation and yoga and breath practice can train the limbic system. But what you're saying is that as with yoga, bringing in the bodily movements that go with it even further tie those circuitries in the brain together, making them fire together more effectively. So I love that. So talk to us about mood. I remember one time I was with a friend of mine and I was in a horrible, horrible mood. And he said, jump up and down. Right now, just jump up and down 100 times. So talk to us about how walking and how movement can help to foster and transform our mood.
So the research shows that walking can be as powerful for many people, not all people for sure, but for many people, walking can be as powerful as medical antidepressants. Again, not everybody, but let's start with what we can do with our own physical plant. And they're not 100% sure how this works or why this works. One sort of obvious go-to is that walking fires up your happiness hormones. So it fires up your dopamine, your endorphins, and your serotonin. And then walking with other people, especially women walking together, can fire up your oxytocin, which just fascinates me, but that's a whole nother conversation. So we're getting those doses that we need daily of those feel-good hormones, including serotonin, which is the target of a lot of antidepressant and research around what causes depression. So it does make sense that a regular walking practice can help offset that and help balance out your mood.
And it makes sense as well because walking has profound benefits in the gut where most of your serotonin is produced. So what are some of the primary benefits for the body that come from having a regular walking practice?
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, I know. What does it not do? What does it not do?
So there's specific research around walking and diabetes, dementia, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, certain types of cancer. A regular walking practice has been tied to reduced risk of breast cancer. And oh gosh, I'm forgetting one. Oh, osteoporosis, right? So there's that for women, especially
And colon
as we
cancer.
age. And colon cancer. Thank you. And there is research out there. There's one study that shows that a regular walking practice can add up to 7 years to your life. And there's another one that shows that people who walk regularly tend to live 15 years longer than their more sedentary friends. So it really, it improves your circulation. It helps you, I can bounce around a lot because there's so much there, but I recently read a study around walking after meals for people who are wrestling with diabetes. And there's some research that suggests the timing of your walks can have a major impact there. So, like how our parents used to take walks after dinner, right? That was the thing that people used to do. The family would take a walk, and now we sit down and watch television or doom scroll social media. But apparently some of those old habits are really impactful. Get up and take a walk after your meal.
It makes such a huge difference. We talked with, and listeners, you'll have to forgive me, the episode may not be out yet, but we talked with Dr. Casey Means on this show. She is an expert in continuous glucose monitoring and how do you balance out your glucose. And she cited a study that showed that as little as 2 minutes of walking after a meal can have a profound impact on the stability of your blood glucose because the muscles are using all the sugar in your bloodstream because they need the energy to make it work. Now, we're going to come back to some more discussions about the body, but I want to go back to one thing that you just said a moment ago, which is that walking in groups, especially groups of women, has been shown to increase oxytocin. And what do you think that walking can do to help us build greater community and combat loneliness? And why do you think loneliness is so detrimental for us?
We are social creatures. We are meant to live in community. And as I always said, again, I focus a lot of my work around women. So when I'm sure men need community too, but it's easier for me to kind of wrap my arms around communities of women. And I believe that we were meant to raise up our kids with our moms and our grandparents and our sisters and our aunties and our cousins and our community all around us. And this idea that women are supposed to raise up their families and figure it all out on their own is nuts. It's just nuts. But we've created this culture where we're living in a lot of isolation. The American dream is a long driveway and a white picket fence, right? You're supposed to be behind all of those barriers. And because of that, it's sometimes difficult to start to form real relationships and kind of take those first steps using the metaphor towards building those relationships. And if you stop and think about it, it's a lot more comfortable to ask someone, hey, do you want to take a walk, than to ask somebody into your home. So that's sort of step one. Oh my gosh, I'm using all of these like walking analogies, not on purpose. So step one is it just makes it a little bit easier to start to build those relationships. And then there's the magic that happens when you walk with somebody, starting with your walk is going to sync up in all likelihood. So when people walk together, it's so interesting to notice if you're out in the world and you see people out for a walk, and not necessarily if they're window shopping or walking through town, but if people are out for a walk, more often than not, even if they're different heights, they'll sync up their walk. And that creates kind of this implied connection and sense of agreement. I was just reading a really interesting research paper on walking and conflict resolution, and talking about this idea that there's like this implied agreement, we're going to do this together. So you have that. And then you have a shared experience. And shared experiences tend to be experiences that we enjoy more. You want to share those experiences with other people. And then if you stop and think about what we were just talking about how our brains work, your brain is working at its best. And in that way, you're able to really connect with somebody, think creatively. And the last piece around this for me is that moments of silence are much more comfortable when you're out walking with someone than they are when you're sitting in a coffee shop staring at them.
Oh, absolutely. And the whole world's just like buzzing around you, and you can't quite settle. You can't quite settle into the moment like you can outside. We've talked with Dr. Eric Zielinski about the power of forest bathing and just the power of being out in nature and walking with no intent, and just, walking to enjoy the walk, and walking to enjoy the sounds and the glistening of the leaves as the sunlight comes through it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And what I think you're saying goes so deep into our evolutionary biology and says by walking in groups, we craft safety. We craft safety within the social networks that help to sustain and uphold us, as well as create generations of security for the children that we bring into this world. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. When I was first asked if I wanted to join the Ula Guys' new network marketing company, I was skeptical. I didn't know that that was the direction that I wanted to go. But then I had a vision. I thought of what would happen if I started sharing with just a few people and they started sharing with just a few more. And together, we set goals and encouraged each other to actually be accountable and accomplish them. What if people who set goals with me and my friends actually changed their lives for the better? Finally lost the weight, paid off the debt, quit the job they hated, went on dream vacations, and cut toxic people out of their lives. What if people's lives could be changed for the better because of ULA, just like it was for me. I set a goal, a vision, and I recognized that it was a leap of faith. What if in a year from now, tons of new people I knew had greater self-worth, more self-confidence, and worked with greater integrity, gratitude, and humility than ever before? I decided that I wanted to make a video that allowed me to sit and cry tears of joy because of the transformative process that people had gone through. Find out more about how you can be a part of that video by heading to www.lindsayelmore.com/ULA. Come to our next meeting, join our team, and go on a journey with us to set goals and be encouraged to accomplish them one day at a time. And now, let's get back to the show. I'd love to know, where did the name 99 Walks come from?
So it's funny you ask. We were just talking about this internally this morning with my team, and naming a company is really hard. It's really hard. This is not for the first time I've done it, and I swear it does not get easier. So we spent a lot of time talking about what kind of connotes what we want to do and accomplish. And one of the things that was underlying it a little bit is the research that's been completely debunked around habits, right? It takes 3 weeks to form a habit. Well, not entirely true. Habits are really tricky, complicated things. But that got us to talking about, okay, what do we really want to encourage people to do? And what we believed, and what we've seen now anecdotally hundreds of times, is that 99 intentional walks, because that's what we focus on. We don't focus on step counting. It's not about getting more steps in. It's about carving out that time. Carving out 99 intentional walks is truly transformative.
So you get the 99 walks, but what does it mean to take an intentional walk?
Super simple in my mind. It is, as I said, just carving out time to say, I am going to take a walk. I am not going to, it's different than parking your car on the far side of the parking lot so you get in extra steps, which, listen, is great. We all need more action and more activity and more movement. We pretty much, all of us, sit too much, right? I'm sure you've talked about that at length, but there is something special about carving out that time for you to be in nature, preferably, but also away from your multitasking and doing all of those other things, because that's where you give yourself the opportunity to get all of the physical benefits, right? Because the more you do and the more you're able to raise your heart rate and challenge your body, the better the benefits. And the more space you give yourself to think and to breathe, the better.
I love that. Isn't that just a metaphor for life? The more space you give yourself to think and breathe, that's kind of the essence of it all. Just give yourself more peace, give yourself more calm, give yourself a moment where your brain is not demanded to go 1,000 miles a minute. Now, you know, the Miss Universe pageant was just this past weekend, and I grew up doing a few pageants here and there for my school, but then eventually competed in the Miss Alabama pageant. And I have marveled at the way that body standards have changed among pageantry, among fitness, among women at large, where you look back and women used to come and be just valued at many, many different sizes. And now beauty standards are so chiseled and perfect and very, very thin. Where do you think that, let me rephrase, How do you think that these body images and the idea of the industrial fitness complex has harmed women? Explain to us your concept of this industrial fitness complex and what it's done to skew body image in women.
Oh, so much, so much. We hold ourselves to an ideal that is literally impossible. And we are, I was going to use the word victim, but I hate that word. We are subject to messaging that fitness, and I'm using air quotes, right? Fitness is only for people who look a certain way. And if you don't look like that and you don't feel like that and you don't fit in that model, then fitness is not for you. So people put walls up around that. You know, I have this expression when people say to me, I hate exercise. I always ask them, have you tried everything? Because there's something out there. Maybe you like dancing. Maybe you like jumping up and down in your living room. Maybe you like playing softball with a team. But I would venture to say that for just about every single person, there is some form of physical movement that you're going to enjoy because your body wants it. And I believe that the industrial fitness complex has said to us as a society, this is what fitness looks like. So if you don't fit in this, or you don't like this, or you don't feel comfortable, or you don't look like this world of movement and fitness is not for you.
Mm, it's so true. I was listening to a true crime podcast called Red Collar that I absolutely love, and there was an episode called The Yoga Murder, and there was a murder in the Lululemon store of all the places, and it describes their ideal client as being thin and having thin thighs is actually in their ideal client avatar, which is just completely horrifying and gross. And it is one of those things where we are told you have to look this way in order to be well, which I don't believe at all. I think that there are certain body types, as certainly if you go back to Ayurvedic traditions of health, certain people can carry more body weight and be perfectly healthy with that body weight. So if our listeners have been leading a sedentary life and are really, like the idea of walking a mile sounds extreme to them, where do you encourage people to start, especially if pain or stiffness is part of their body mechanics at the moment?
Start where you are. Start with whatever you can do, and don't judge. We have something that we fight against even within the 99 Walks community, and it's the word just. I just walked half a mile. I only did this. And if you start listening to people, especially as women, we do it all the time. There's a lot around women apologize all the time, right? We've got to break the habit of apologizing. And I think that's true for sure. But I think we also have to break the habit and the mindset of I only or I just. You only walked a quarter of a mile. Well done. You walked a quarter of a mile. And most ailments, not all for sure, but many ailments are made better from walking. So consult your doctor, consult your physical therapists, consult all of the people in your life, if you have them, who you really feel need to green light some kind of activity, and ask them about walking. We have a PAC member. We call our members our PAC. We have a PAC member who messaged me just the other day and said she emailed and she said, I'm having major back surgery in the middle of July. She said, but the good news is that within 48 hours, my doctor said he wants me up and walking. Now, that's not walking 6 miles up a hill, right? That's starting where you are. So the things we need to get rid of are the all or nothing mentality. If I can't walk 6 miles up a hill, I may as well not bother. And the I just and I only. And somehow we have to work to get those out of our heads.
You know, the thing that you just said, that if I can't do it, it's not worth it. And it's like, honey, if you walk a quarter of a mile, don't you think that's going to make it easier for you to walk up a flight of stairs? That's going to make it easier for you to walk the aisles of the grocery store. That's going to make it easier for you to chase after your grandchild. Everything builds. It all builds and builds and builds on each other. And what you said about the I just and I only, I think speaks to one of the most major things that is wrong with the way that a lot of women think, which is my effort is not enough, therefore I am not enough. And you know, if people are in these cycles of just thinking I'm not enough, I was about to ask you, like, what would you recommend they do? And then I'm like, she's going to say that they should go on a walk. That's what they should do. That's what they should do. So how do you think that, you know, it's almost like walking becomes a great equalizer among all of us. What are your thoughts? And, you know, you chose the word pack for a reason. That's a very specific word. How do you think that walking builds pack mentality?
It goes back to what we were saying earlier around the value of walking together and how that can be transformative. And I would love for anybody who's listening to find an opportunity to walk with someone you care about. And here's the thing that we've learned in the last year is walking together in person. Walking together in person outside someplace beautiful is ideal. But you know what? Getting on the phone with somebody you haven't seen for a while that you love and walking with them is really, really good. And I would love for people to just try it. And at the end of a walk with someone, take a moment and reflect on the nature of your conversation, because I think you will likely find that your conversation moved really easily from one thing to another, that you talked about things that you maybe wouldn't have talked about at other times, that you found both you and whoever you're walking with were a bit more forthcoming and a bit more open, and that you really enjoyed the experience. And as far as you walked, or as long as you walked, I guarantee it went by faster.
You're so right that conversations go by really fast. And there's also something miraculous and special about walking outside in the same location all throughout the year. You know, I don't know how many listeners have seen My Octopus Teacher, the documentary film that just won best documentary film at the Oscars. It is phenomenal to watch him swim these same waters every single day and actually come to learn them. And here on this show, we interviewed Dr. Michael Merzenich, who reminds us that we're the masters of our own domain. It is ingrained in us to be able to mentally recall all of the space around our house and work out in circles around us, because that's safety and that security. And in my opinion, one of the only ways that you can really build those mental maps is by walking. You can build different mental maps by driving, but the mental maps that you can build from walking are so profound. So what is your opinion? You know, do you like to go to the same place every time? Do you like to mix it up? So, I mean, what are kind of the differential brain benefits of doing one versus the other?
So I do 4 kinds of walks. I have 4 different kinds of walks, and it depends a little bit on what I'm walking for. And that makes it sound really fancy and intentional, probably more so than it really is, because it is more instinctual than anything else. But I've been thinking about this. I do tend to walk the same places over and over again. To your point, I love to have that map. I love to notice the changes in a way, and this is the place where walking can be meditative, because you start to notice the small changes, the change of seasons. No matter where you are, there's a change of seasons. January looks and feels and smells different than June, and you become more aware of those things when you're walking in the same place. The flip side of that is sometimes I wrote something recently about taking my executive function for a walk, because I was walking the same path I've walked hundreds and hundreds of times. And one morning I thought, what happens if I take this trail off to the right? And I did. And I had that anxiety of not knowing exactly where I was and trying to orient myself in space and figuring out where I was going. And it was fully that kind of mental exercise. And for whatever reason, that morning, I felt like doing that. So that's a long way of saying I do both. Sometimes you have to wake up and see something different. And sometimes you just need to be able to put yourself on autopilot and go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so those are two of the kinds of walks. What are the other two?
So sometimes mentally, I will take a problem with me on a walk. So if there's something that I'm really trying to sort through, I will be super intentional and put that problem in my mind. And as my mind starts to drift, again, a little bit meditative, as if my mind starts to drift away from that problem, I will bring my mind back and I will really try to focus on that, on figuring it out and using that walking brain energy and creativity to see if I can solve a particular problem. And the last is, I'm all about nature bathing. I'm all about walking in nature. I'm all about listening to the birds, but sometimes you need to crank up your favorite playlist and just lose yourself in a story, a podcast, or music, and just get lost.
I love it. And I can already see how all of these have some different benefits. One is more fun. One is more like I have to have the discipline to make good decisions in my life. And the other one is that meditation within every single moment of the day, where you're able to, as you so beautifully put it, smell the difference between January and June. That is so beautiful and so profound. Joyce Schulman, I was so excited when you said that you would come and be on the show today, and it has been such a joy to talk with you. Listeners, if you would like to learn more about how you can transform your life doing 99 walks, head to www.99, that's the number 99walks.fit, and there you can join the pack along with Joyce. That's www.99walks.fit. Joyce, thank you so much for the work that you do and for being a guest today on The Lindsay Elmore Show.
It was truly my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Way too many people out there go to the doctor looking for solutions to real problems that they have in their lives and are met with a brick wall where the only solutions offered are either medications or surgery or, let's just check it again in 6 months. The system is broken, friends, and far too many people are left without options of knowing, how can I heal myself and correct the root causes of what is genuinely making me sick. That's why I am so happy to announce that I have a new subscription platform. It's called Wellness Made Simple, and it is a one-stop shop for everything you need to know about how to course correct if you're already experiencing symptoms, or how to prevent symptoms from happening in the first place. This is not a place to come and find out about the nitty-gritty and the perfect combination of supplements or the exact right way to eat to be well. This is a place where you can get together with people who understand that sleep, stress, food, exercise and relationships really matter to our overall health. From now until August 30th, you can lock in introductory pricing for life. That's only $29 per month. Head to wellnessmadesimple.us. That's wellnessmadesimple.us to sign up today and lock in introductory pricing for life. The Lindsay Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsay Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindsayelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsay Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.